The bread was 3 days old and hard as stone. Hannah Sullivan broke it with her frozen hands, dividing 5 pieces between 5 hungry mouths, keeping none for herself. Her youngest, barely 4 years old, looked up with eyes too old for his face and whispered, "Mama, you ain't eating again." She smiled. She lied. Mama already ate, baby. That was December 14th, 1887. The day before she found the notice. The day before, everything changed. If you're watching this, hit subscribe. I want to see how far this story travels. Drop your city in the comments. Let's see if hope can reach as far as Hannah's desperate prayer carried that winter night in Wyoming territory. Hannah Sullivan had 17 cents left to her name. She counted them again in the dim light of the general store, her fingers numb from cold, her pride burning hot in her chest. 17 cents. 5 children. 300 miles from the man who'd sworn to kill her if she ever ran. She'd run anyway. "Ma'am, you gonna buy something or just stand there blocking the doorway?" The shopkeeper's voice cut through her thoughts. Hannah looked up. Middle-aged man, thick mustache, eyes that had already decided she was trouble. "I'm looking for work," she said. Her voice came out stronger than she felt. "Any postings? Anything at all? This looked like an employment office to you." "No, sir, but I got 5 children in that wagon outside and they ain't eaten proper in 4 days. So I'm asking again. Any work?" The shopkeeper's expression flickered. Not quite sympathy. Maybe just the discomfort of a man who didn't want hungry children on his conscience. "Bulletin boards by the door. Check it yourself." Hannah moved to the board. Wanted posters. Patent medicine advertisements. A notice about a church social. And there, half hidden behind a yellowed paper about land claims hiring ranch cook. Meals for 1. Room provided. Inquire at Thornton Ranch. Black Mesa Road, 12 miles south. Her hands shook as she pulled it down. "That one's been there 2 months, the shopkeeper said. "Thornton don't see many takers. Man's got a reputation." "What kind of reputation?" "The kind that keeps people away." The shopkeeper shrugged. "His wife and boy died 4 years back. Ain't been right since. Lives alone up there, don't come to town unless he has to. Some folks say he's touched in the head. Others say he's just mean." Hannah folded the notice carefully. "Which way is Black Mesa Road?" "You deaf, I just told you the man ain't right. And I got 5 children who are gonna freeze to death if I don't find work today. So which way?" The shopkeeper stared at her for a long moment. Then he pointed. "South out of town. Follow the canyon. You'll see the gate." Hannah was already moving. Outside, the wagon waited. Old Bessie, the mare she'd stolen from Marcus Whitfield's stable, stood with her head down, exhausted beyond measure. The animal had given everything she had getting them this far. Hannah didn't know how much further she could go. Mama Rachel, her eldest at 12, climbed down from the wagon. The girl had her father's dark hair and her mother's stubborn jaw. Behind her, 4 smaller faces peered out: Samuel at 10, Mary at 8, little David at 6, and baby William, just 4 years old, wrapped in every blanket they owned. "Did you find something?" Rachel asked. "Maybe. There's a ranch 12 miles south. Man needs a cook." 12 miles, Samuel's voice cracked. "Mama Bessie can't make 12 miles. Look at her." Hannah looked. The mare's legs trembled. Foam crusted at her mouth. The boy was right. The horse was dying on her feet. "She'll make it," Hannah said. "She has to. And if she don't, then we walk." Samuel's face went hard. Too hard for 10 years old. "I'm tired of walking, Mama. I'm tired of running. When's it gonna stop?" Hannah grabbed his shoulders. "It stops when we're safe, not before. You understand me? We keep moving until Marcus Whitfield can't find us. That's the only way." "He's gonna find us anyway. He always finds people. You heard what he said?" "I heard what he said." Hannah's voice dropped low. "I also heard what he did to your sister's face. You remember that, Samuel? You remember Mary screaming when he backhanded her across the room?" Samuel looked away. "That's why we run. That's why we keep running. Because staying means dying slow, and I won't let that man touch any of you ever again. Rachel stepped forward. Mama's right, Sam. We got no choice. There's always a choice. No. Hannah released him. Sometimes there ain't. Sometimes you just survive. Now get in the wagon. We're burning daylight. They rode in silence. The canyon road wound south through country that grew wilder with every mile. Snow fell in lazy spirals, not heavy yet, but Hannah knew that could change fast. Wyoming winters didn't give warnings. They just arrived and killed whatever wasn't ready. David started crying around mile 5. I'm cold, Mama. I'm so cold. I know, baby. I know. Come here. She pulled him onto her lap, wrapping her own coat around him, even though it meant her arms went numb within minutes. William slept fitfully against Rachel's shoulder. Mary sat silent and watchful, one hand always touching the scar on her cheek, the one Marcus had given her the night Hannah finally decided to run. Samuel sat rigid, staring at nothing. Tell us a story, Mama, David whispered. Tell us about Papa. Hannah's throat tightened. Thomas Sullivan had been dead 3 years now, killed in a mining accident that shouldn't have happened. Left her alone with 5 children and a mountain of debt that Marcus Whitfield had been all too happy to help with. She'd been so grateful at first, so relieved to have someone offering to save her. She hadn't understood until too late that Marcus didn't save people. He bought them. Your papa was a good man, she said softly, strong and kind. He would have loved to see how big you're all getting. Would he be proud of us? He'd be so proud, baby, so proud of all of you, even for running away. Hannah looked at her son's upturned face. Especially for running away. Your papa always said the bravest thing a person can do is walk away from something that's hurting them. Takes more courage to leave than to stay and suffer. Is that why we left Mr. Whitfield? That's exactly why. The snow fell harder. By mile 8, Bessie stumbled. By mile 10, she was barely moving. By mile 11, she stopped completely and wouldn't go forward no matter how much Hannah urged. Mama. Rachel's voice was steady. She's done. Hannah climbed down from the wagon. Her legs nearly buckled. 4 days without proper food had made her weak, and she hadn't let the children see how bad it really was. She touched Bessie's neck. The mare turned her head slowly, and Hannah saw it in her eyes. The animal was finished. Okay, Hannah whispered. Okay, old girl, you did good. You did so good. What do we do now? Samuel demanded. We walk. Walk. Mama William can barely stand and David. I'll carry William. Rachel takes David. You and Mary handle what supplies we can carry. We leave the rest. In the snow, we're gonna freeze. Hannah grabbed her son's face with both hands, forcing him to look at her. Listen to me, Samuel Thomas Sullivan. We are 1 mile from that ranch. 1 mile from food and warmth, and maybe, just maybe, safety. I did not drag this family 300 miles through hell to die 1 mile short. You understand me? Yes, ma'am. Then move. They moved. Hannah carried William on her back, his thin arms locked around her neck. Rachel half-carried, half-dragged David through snow that reached his knees. Mary walked in a kind of trance, following without being told. Samuel carried the supply bag and refused to show how heavy it was. 1 mile. It felt like 100. Hannah's lungs burned. Her legs screamed. Twice she fell and had to fight her way back up with William's weight on her back. The snow was coming down heavy now, visibility dropping to almost nothing. And then, through the white A gate, black iron against gray sky. Hannah pushed forward. The gate was closed, but beyond it she could see a house. Windows glowing with lamplight, smoke rising from a chimney. Hello? She screamed. Please. Is anyone there? No answer. She fumbled with the gate latch. Her fingers wouldn't work right. Too cold. Too numb. Hello. Please, I got children. They're freezing. The front door of the house opened. A man stepped onto the porch. Hannah couldn't see his face clearly through the snow, but she could see enough. Tall, lean, moving with the careful stillness of someone who'd learned to be dangerous. "Please," she called. "I saw your notice in town. For a cook. I can cook. I can work. I just need—" "Stop." One word. His voice cut through the storm like a blade. Hannah stopped. "You got children with you." "5 of them." "Please, sir. They haven't eaten proper in days and my horse gave out a mile back and I don't—" Her voice broke. She hated herself for it. "I don't know what else to do." Silence. The man stood there not moving. Then he stepped off the porch and walked toward the gate. Up close, Hannah could see him better. Late 30s. Hard face like it had been carved by loss and never smoothed by joy again. Gray eyes that looked at her like he was reading every secret she'd ever kept. "Your notice said meals for 1, she said. "I know 5 children is I know it's not what you wanted, but I swear to you they're good workers. They can earn their keep, and I can cook, I can clean, I can do whatever you need done." The man looked past her at the children, huddled together, Rachel shielding David Mary with her scarred face. Samuel trying to stand tall despite his shaking, William barely conscious on Hannah's back. That baby sick. Cold. Just cold. He needs warmth. "Boy there." His eyes moved to Samuel. "He got a problem with authority." Hannah hesitated. "He's been through a lot. We all have." "That ain't what I asked." "He listens when it matters." The man's jaw tightened. For a long moment he said nothing. Hannah felt her hope crumbling. He was going to turn them away. They were going to die in the snow 1 mile from safety because she'd dared to bring 5 children to a job posting that asked for none. Then he opened the gate. "Get inside. All of you. Now." Hannah didn't wait for him to change his mind. She herded the children through up the path onto the porch, through the door that stood open, with warmth spilling out. The inside of the house hit her like a physical blow. Heat. Actual heat from a fire burning strong. Hannah's frozen skin screamed as sensation returned, and she had to bite her lip to keep from crying out. "Put the boy by the fire," the man said, nodding at William. "Careful. Too fast and he'll get sick." Rachel helped Hannah lower William to the floor near the hearth. The child's eyes fluttered open. "Mama, are we dead?" "No, baby. We're not dead. We're safe." "This don't look like heaven." "It ain't heaven. It's better. It's warm." The man moved through his kitchen with efficient motions, pulling out bread and cheese, and something that smelled like actual meat. Hannah's stomach cramped so hard, she nearly doubled over. "When's the last time you ate?" the man asked without looking at her. "I'm fine." "That ain't what I asked." Hannah swallowed. "The children ate yesterday. Bread. Not much." "And you?" "I said I'm fine." The man stopped what he was doing. He turned and looked at her directly, and Hannah saw something in his eyes that made her want to weep. Not pity. Worse. Recognition. "You gave them your share," he said. "Every meal. You've been starving yourself to keep them fed." Hannah couldn't answer. "Sit down before you fall down. That's an order." She sat. Food appeared in front of her. Plain fare, bread, cheese, dried beef, hot coffee. But to Hannah, it looked like a feast. The children were already eating too hungry to remember manners, and she wanted to tell them to slow down, but she couldn't speak. Couldn't do anything except lift the bread to her mouth with shaking hands. The man didn't eat. He leaned against the far counter, arms crossed, watching them consume his food like locusts. "You running from something?" he said finally. It wasn't a question. Hannah's hand stopped halfway to her mouth. "I'm looking for work." "Those two things ain't mutually exclusive." His gray eyes held hers. "I asked if you're running from something." The children had gone still. Even William, half conscious by the fire, seemed to feel the tension. "Yes," Hannah said quietly. I'm running. From the law? No. From a man. Hannah didn't answer. Her silence was answer enough. He hurt you. He hurt my children. Something shifted in the man's face. Not much. He wasn't the type to show emotion easy, but Hannah saw it. A flash of something dark and cold. That scar on your girl's face. He do that? Yes. The boy. The 10-year-old. He flinch every time I move. That 'cause of this man? Yes. And you? The man's voice dropped. You got bruises under that dress. Healing ones. I can tell by the way you move. He do that too. Hannah's throat closed. Ain't asking to be cruel, the man said. Asking because I need to know what kind of trouble I'm inviting into my house. His name is Marcus Whitfield. He owns half of Kansas City Bank's hotel's judges. I was in debt after my husband died. Marcus offered to help. I didn't understand what that meant until it was too late. And now he wants you back. He wants me dead. I know things about his business. Things he can't let me tell anyone. Hannah's hands clenched in her lap. I took money when I left, enough to run. He's calling it theft. Got men looking for me across 3 territories. How far behind? I don't know. Days, maybe hours. I've been careful, but... She looked at her children. Hard to move fast with 5 little ones. The man was quiet for a long moment. Hannah braced herself for what was coming. The dismissal, the closed door, the return to cold and darkness and running. Instead, he said, My name's Caleb Thornton. This is my ranch. I need a cook and you need work. We'll discuss terms tomorrow. Tonight you sleep. Hannah stared at him. You're offering me the job, after everything I just told you. I'm offering you a roof for the night. Job comes if you earn it. But Marcus, he's dangerous. If his men find me here, let me worry about that. You don't understand. He's got money, power. Lady. Caleb Thornton straightened from the counter, and for the first time, Hannah saw the full measure of him. Not just a grieving rancher. Something harder. Something that had seen violence and survived it. I spent 4 years in the war, and another 2 hunting the men who killed my wife and boy. I don't scare easy, and I don't turn away women and children to die in the snow just because some rich man from Kansas City thinks he owns them. Hannah felt tears burn her eyes. She blinked them back fiercely. There's a room off the kitchen, Caleb continued. Used to be the housekeeper's quarters. Bed's small, but you'll manage. Fire's banked, so it should stay warm through the night. Mr. Thornton. Caleb. Mr. Thornton was my father. Caleb. Hannah stood, and her legs almost gave out again. Rachel moved to steady her. I don't know how to thank you. Don't thank me yet. Tomorrow we talk about what this arrangement looks like. Whether you stay or go depends on what you can do and what trouble you bring. He moved toward the door. Get some sleep, all of you. Dawn comes early on a ranch. He was halfway out when David's small voice stopped him. Mr. Caleb turned. David sat by the fire wrapped in blankets, his thin face illuminated by the flames. Are you an angel? Something crossed Caleb's face. Pain, maybe, or something older than pain. No, son, he said quietly. I ain't nothing close to an angel. I'm just a man with an empty house who's tired of eating alone. Then he was gone, disappearing into another part of the house, and Hannah was left with her children in a warm kitchen that smelled like food and safety, and something she hadn't felt in 3 long years. Hope. Mama, Rachel touched her hand. Is this real? Are we really staying? For tonight, baby. For tonight. And tomorrow. Hannah looked at the door where Caleb Thornton had disappeared. A hard man. A dangerous man, maybe. But also a man who'd opened his gate in a blizzard and fed 5 starving children without asking for anything in return. Tomorrow we find out if there's still room in this world for second chances. Rachel helped her into the small room off the kitchen. A bed, a washstand, a trunk. Not much. But compared to the wagon, compared to the frozen road, compared to running, it was everything. The children piled onto the bed together, too exhausted to fight for space. William was already asleep, his breathing even, for the first time in days. David curled against his sister. Mary lay silent and watchful as always. Samuel positioned himself between the door and his siblings, even in sleep ready to defend. Hannah stood in the doorway for a long moment, looking at them. "I got you here," she thought. "I don't know what happens next, but I got you here. That has to count for something." She lay down on the edge of the bed, her body finally letting go of the tension she'd been carrying for 300 miles. Her eyes closed. And for the first time since Thomas died, for the first time since Marcus Whitfield had shown her what hell really looked like, Hannah Sullivan slept without nightmares. Hannah woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of her children's voices. For a moment, she didn't know where she was. The bed was too soft. The room was too warm. And her children were laughing. She couldn't remember the last time she'd heard them laugh. "Mama's awake." David's face appeared in the doorway, his cheeks flushed with something that looked dangerously close to happiness. "Mama, come see Mr. Thornton's got horses. Real horses and chickens, and there's a cow that makes milk." Hannah sat up slowly. Her body ached in places she'd forgotten existed, but the bone-deep exhaustion of yesterday had lifted. She'd slept. Actually slept. "Where are your brothers and sisters?" "Kitchen. Mr. Thornton made breakfast. He said not to wake you, but I couldn't wait anymore." Hannah stood smoothing her dress, the same dress she'd worn for 3 weeks straight, stained and torn, and barely holding together. She caught sight of herself in the small mirror above the washstand and looked away quickly. The woman in that reflection wasn't someone she wanted to see. "Mama." David tugged her hand. "You coming?" "I'm coming, baby." The kitchen was chaos. William sat on the floor near the stove playing with wooden spoons like they were treasure. Mary stood at the counter carefully slicing bread with a concentration that made Hannah's heart twist. Samuel and Rachel were nowhere to be seen, and at the table Caleb Thornton sat with a cup of coffee watching her children move through his space like they belonged there. "Morning," he said. "Morning." Hannah looked around. "Where are my older two?" "Barn. Boy wanted to see the horses. Your girl went to make sure he didn't do anything stupid." "Samuel knows better than to. He's 10. 10-year-old boys don't know better about anything." Caleb stood. "Coffee's hot. Food's on the table. Eat." Hannah bristled at the command. "I appreciate your hospitality, Mr. Thornton, but I'd prefer to—" "Caleb. I'd prefer to earn my keep before I eat your food. You said we'd discuss terms this morning. Let's discuss." Something flickered in Caleb's eyes. Surprise, maybe. Or respect. "All right," he said. "Sit down. We'll talk terms." Hannah sat. Mary brought her coffee without being asked, and Hannah felt a swell of pride at her daughter's quiet competence. 8 years old, and already more capable than most grown women. "Terms are simple," Caleb said. "You cook 3 meals a day, breakfast at dawn, lunch at noon, supper at 6. You clean the house, manage the pantry, handle the washing. In return, you get room and board for you and your children, plus $15 a month in wages." "That's generous." "That's practical. I've been eating my own cooking for 4 years. I'm tired of it." "What about my children? They'll need schooling." "Town's got a school. 12 miles. Long ride, but doable. And in the meantime, I won't have them sitting idle." Caleb studied her. "You're different than I expected." "How so?" "Most women in your position would be grateful just to have a roof. You're negotiating." "Gratitude don't feed children, Mr. Caleb. I learned that the hard way. Now my children, what work can they do?" A ghost of something not quite a smile crossed Caleb's face. "Your boy Samuel. He good with animals." "He's good with everything when he puts his mind to it." "Then he can help in the barn. Mucking stalls, feeding stock, learning to handle horses proper. Your eldest girl can help you in the house." The younger ones. He glanced at Mary, still standing silent by the counter. That one. She always this quiet. Hannah's jaw tightened. She's been through a lot. Ain't asking for her life story, just asking if she talks. When she has something to say. Caleb nodded slowly. Fair enough. Little ones can do small chores. Gathering eggs, fetching water. Nothing heavy. And when Marcus Whitfield's men come, the question hung in the air. Caleb's expression didn't change, but Hannah saw his hand tighten around his coffee cup. If they come. When, not if. You don't know Marcus. He doesn't let things go, ever. Then we'll deal with it when it happens. That's not a plan. No, it ain't. It's a promise. Caleb leaned forward. I told you last night I don't scare easy. I meant it. Any man comes to my property looking to hurt you or your children, he'll answer to me. Why? Why what? Why would you do that? You don't know me. You don't owe me anything. Caleb was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood and walked to the window, his back to her. 4 years ago, men came to this ranch. Outlaws looking for horses to steal. I was in town. By the time I got back, his voice went flat. My wife was dead in the yard. My boy was dead in her arms. She'd tried to protect him. Didn't matter. They killed them both anyway. Hannah's breath caught. Took me 2 years to track those men down. Found 4 of them. Made them pay for what they did. 5th one got away, still looking for him. Caleb turned to face her. Point is, I know what it's like to be hunted. And I know what it feels like to be the one too late to save someone. I won't be too late again. Caleb! We got a deal or not? Hannah looked at this hard-broken man who was offering her family protection he had no obligation to give. We got a deal. Good. Now eat your breakfast. You look like you're about to fall over. She ate. The food was plain but filling, and Hannah had to force herself to slow down, to remember that there would be more tomorrow. That this wasn't the last meal she'd have. That maybe, just maybe, she could stop counting every bite. The back door banged open. Samuel burst in, Rachel close behind, and Hannah's heart jumped before she realized they weren't running from danger. They were running from excitement. Mama! Samuel's eyes were bright. Mr. Thornton's got a horse that's gonna have a baby. Rachel saw it. Its belly's all big, and... Samuel. Hannah used her firm voice. What have I told you about bursting into houses? The boy stopped. Some of the light left his face. Sorry, Mama. Hannah hated herself for it, but the rules were the only thing keeping them alive. The rules were the only thing that had gotten them this far. Mr. Thornton, Rachel said, more composed. The mare in the far stall. Is she due soon? Couple weeks, maybe. You know horses. Our papa taught me, before he died. Rachel's chin lifted. I used to help him with the foaling, back when we had horses. Something shifted in Caleb's expression. That's so. Yes, sir. Then maybe you can help me when the time comes. Extra hands are useful. Rachel's face transformed. Not quite a smile. Rachel had forgotten how to really smile, but something close. I'd like that, sir. Caleb, he corrected. Everyone around here calls me Caleb. The morning passed in a blur of activity. Hannah cleaned while the children found their places. Samuel disappeared into the barn, returning hours later smelling like hay and horse, and looking more alive than he had in months. Rachel stuck close to Hannah, learning the layout of the kitchen, the pantry, the rhythms of the household. Mary watched everything with her silent, watchful eyes. David and William played in the corner, making forts out of firewood and pretending they were soldiers. Normal. It almost felt normal. But normal didn't last. Mama! Mary's voice, barely above a whisper, came from the doorway of a room Hannah hadn't entered yet. Mama, come look. Hannah dried her hands and crossed to where her daughter stood. Mary pointed into the room, and Hannah looked, and everything inside her went cold. A child's room. Small bed carefully made. Toys arranged on a shelf. Wooden horses. A cloth ball. A set of tin soldiers. Clothes folded in an open trunk too small for any of her children. And on the wall, a photograph in a simple frame. A woman with kind eyes holding a boy who couldn't have been more than 3. "That's his family," Mary whispered. "The ones who died." Hannah grabbed her daughter's arm and pulled her back. "We don't go in there. You understand, that room is private." "But Mama," Mary Elizabeth Sullivan, "I said no. Some doors stay closed." Mary's face crumpled, but she nodded. Hannah guided her back to the kitchen, heart pounding. She shouldn't have seen that room. Shouldn't have looked at those toys. Those clothes, that photograph of a woman whose place she was now filling. Not filling, she told herself fiercely. Occupying. Temporarily. That's all. But the image of that child's room stayed with her all day. Supper was stew, thick and hot, made from supplies Hannah had found in the pantry. Caleb ate without comment, which she was learning meant approval. Her children ate like they were starving, which they had been not so long ago, and Hannah made herself eat slowly, setting an example. "Good," Caleb said, finally pushing back from the table. "Better than good. Best meal I've had in 4 years. It's just stew." "It's food someone else made. That makes it better." He stood. "I need to check the stock. Rachel, you want to come see how we bed down the horses for the night?" Rachel looked at Hannah, who nodded. The girl scrambled up, following Caleb out the back door, and Hannah watched them go with a strange feeling in her chest. Her daughter trusted him. Already. After 1 day. Was that good or terrifying? She couldn't decide. "Mama!" Samuel's voice was low. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Mr. Thornton Caleb. He's got guns. Lots of them. I saw them in the barn locked up. Rifles, pistols, boxes of ammunition." Hannah's hands stilled on the dishes. So that ain't normal. Ranch like this you need maybe 2, 3 guns. He's got enough for a small army." Samuel's eyes were too old, too knowing. "He's expecting trouble, ain't he? The kind that shoots back." "Samuel, don't lie to me, Mama. I'm not a baby. I know what Mr. Whitfield is. I know what he'll do if he finds us. And I think Caleb knows it too." Hannah turned to face her son. This boy who'd grown up too fast, who'd seen too much, who'd had to become a man when he should still have been playing with tin soldiers. "Yes," she said quietly. "He's expecting trouble." "Good. Good. Means he's smart." Samuel's jaw set. "And it means when they come, 'cause they will come. Mama, we both know it, we won't be helpless. Not this time. You're 10 years old, Samuel. Fighting isn't your job." "Then whose job is it? Yours, Rachel's?" His voice cracked. "We already tried running. Didn't work. Maybe it's time to try something else." Hannah wanted to argue. Wanted to tell him he was wrong, that running was still the answer, that safety lay in distance, and hiding, and never stopping long enough for Marcus Whitfield to catch up. But looking at her son's face, she couldn't make the words come. Because maybe he was right. Maybe running only delayed the inevitable. Maybe the only way out was through. "We'll see," she said finally. "For now we stay. We work. We don't borrow trouble. And when trouble comes anyway, then we face it, together." Samuel nodded, something settling in his expression. He went back to his dinner, and Hannah turned back to the dishes, and neither of them mentioned the guns again. But she thought about them. All night she thought about them. 3 days passed, then 5, then a week. Hannah learned the rhythms of the ranch feeding times and cleaning schedules, and the particular way Caleb liked his coffee strong enough to strip paint. Her children found their places. Samuel spent every spare moment in the barn, and Caleb started teaching him to ride properly. Rachel helped with the pregnant mare, checking on her morning and night. Mary began to speak more, not much, but enough. David and William ran wild through the property, growing brown from sun despite the cold, growing strong from regular meals. And Caleb Thornton began to thaw. Not obviously, not dramatically, just small things. A nod of acknowledgement when Hannah served breakfast. A word of praise when Samuel did something right. A rare, almost smile when William said something funny. He was still hard, still guarded. But the ice was cracking, and underneath Hannah glimpsed something that might have been human. "He's different when you're not looking," Rachel said one evening, helping Hannah with the supper dishes. "In the barn he talks more, tells me about his wife, how she used to sing to the horses. He does. Sometimes, not a lot, but enough." Rachel scrubbed a pot. "I think he's lonely, Mama. I think he's been lonely for a long time." Being lonely doesn't make someone safe. No, but it makes them understand. Rachel looked at her mother. "We're lonely too, all of us. Maybe that's why we fit here." Hannah didn't know what to say to that. That night, after the children were asleep, she found Caleb on the porch. He sat in a wooden chair, rifle across his knees, staring out at the darkness. The snow had stopped days ago, but the cold remained sharp and clean, and Hannah wrapped her shawl tighter as she stepped outside. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked without turning. "No." "Me neither." She sat in the chair beside him. For a long moment, neither spoke. "I saw the room," Hannah said finally. "The child's room. I didn't mean to. Mary found it, and I know. You're not angry." "Hard to be angry about something I should have locked up." Caleb's voice was quiet. "His name was Thomas, my boy, 3 years old when they killed him." "Thomas." Hannah's throat tightened. "That was my husband's name." "I know, your boy Samuel mentioned it." A long pause. "Funny how that works. Different Thomas, same grief. It doesn't get easier, does it? Everyone says time heals, but everyone's lying." Caleb turned to look at her for the first time. "It doesn't get easier. You just get stronger. Strong enough to carry it without falling down." Hannah felt tears burn her eyes. "What if I'm not strong enough?" "You are. You don't know that. I know you walked 300 miles through winter with 5 children because you'd rather die trying than go back to a man who hurt them. I know you gave up your food so they could eat. I know you stood at my gate half frozen and still had enough fight in you to negotiate for work." Caleb's gray eyes held hers. "That's strong, Hannah. That's the strongest thing I've seen in a long time." Her name. He'd called her by her name. "Caleb." A sound cut through the night. Hoofbeats. Fast. Coming from the direction of town. Caleb was on his feet in an instant, rifle raised. "Get inside, get the children." "What? Now?" Hannah ran. She woke the children, quiet and urgent, herding them to the back room. Samuel appeared in the doorway, already half-dressed, a look on his face that said he knew exactly what was happening. "Stay with your sisters and brothers," Hannah told him. "Don't come out." "Mama." "I mean it, Samuel, no matter what you hear." She grabbed the rifle Caleb had given her, part of her training over the past week, and moved back to the front of the house. Caleb stood on the porch. 3 riders had stopped at the gate, their horses lathered from hard riding. One of them wore a badge. The sheriff. "Thornton," the lead man called. "Need to talk." "Talk." "Got a telegram from Kansas City. Looking for a woman and 5 children. Woman's name is Hannah Sullivan. Wanted for theft and arson." The sheriff's voice carried clearly in the night air. "Word is she might be in the area. You seen anyone matching that description?" Hannah's blood turned to ice. Caleb didn't move. "Can't say I have." "That's so, 'cause I stopped at Miller's store this afternoon. He said a woman with 5 children came through about 10 days ago, asked about work, said you had a posting up." Silence. "Thornton, I don't want trouble, but if you're harboring a fugitive, you got a warrant. I got a telegram from a man named Marcus Whitfield claiming this woman stole money and burned down his property. Telegram ain't a warrant." "No, but it's enough for me to look around. Make sure everything's square." The sheriff's voice hardened. "Now you gonna let me in? Or do we have a problem?" Hannah gripped her rifle. Her hands were shaking. Caleb stood like stone on his porch, 3 lawmen at his gate, and everything Hannah had built in the past 10 days began to crumble around her. Then Caleb said, "Come back with a warrant, Sheriff. Until then, you're trespassing on private property." "Thornton, you heard me. Get off my land." A long, terrible moment. The sheriff stared at Caleb. Caleb stared back. Finally, the sheriff pulled his horse around. "This ain't over, Thornton. Whitfield's got deep pockets. He'll send more than a telegram next time. Let him send whatever he wants. Answer's gonna be the same." The riders disappeared into the darkness. Caleb stood on the porch for a long time after they were gone. Hannah stepped outside. "Caleb. He'll be back, probably with more men. Probably with paper that says he can take you." Caleb turned to face her, and in the moonlight his expression was carved from ice. "We got maybe a week. Maybe less. I should go. Before he comes back. Before—" "You ain't going nowhere." "Caleb, I can't ask you to." "You didn't ask. I'm telling." He stepped toward her. "I told you I don't turn away women and children. I told you anyone who wants to hurt you goes through me first. I meant it. Every word." "Why?" The word tore out of her. "Why would you risk everything for someone you barely know?" Caleb was quiet for a moment. Then he reached out and touched her face, his calloused fingers gentle against her cheek. "Because 4 years ago, I stood in a yard full of blood and swore I'd never let it happen again. Not to anyone. Not while I had breath in my body." His voice dropped to a whisper. "And because I ain't just doing this for you, Hannah. I'm doing it for me. Because if I let you walk out that gate, I'll be the man who was too late again. And I can't live with that. Not anymore." Hannah couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Could only stand there in the cold night, feeling the warmth of his hand on her face, seeing the raw truth in his eyes. "We stay," she said finally. "We fight. Together. Together." Caleb's hand dropped. He stepped back, and the moment passed, but something had changed between them. Something that couldn't be unchanged. "Get some sleep," he said. "Tomorrow I start teaching you to shoot better. And your boy Samuel, too. He's old enough. He's 10. Old enough to hold a rifle. Old enough to protect his family." Caleb's jaw set. "When Whitfield's men come, and they will come, I want everyone in this house able to fight, even if I'm the one doing the dying." "Don't talk like that. I'm talking truth. You want pretty lies, you came to the wrong man." Hannah almost laughed. Almost. "I'm starting to figure that out." She went inside, checked on her children, found them awake, huddled together in the dark, fear in their eyes. "Is he coming?" Samuel asked. "Mr. Whitfield, is he sending men?" "Yes." "When?" "Soon." Samuel nodded. Just once. Then he said, "Good, I'm tired of running." Hannah looked at her son. This boy who should be playing, should be laughing, should be innocent, and saw a warrior instead. "Me too, baby," she whispered. "Me too." She lay down with her children, and this time she didn't sleep. Just stared at the ceiling and listened to the wind and waited for dawn. It was coming. The fight she'd been running from for 300 miles. But this time she wasn't running. This time she had somewhere to stand. Dawn came cold and merciless. Hannah found Caleb already in the yard setting up targets against the barn wall. Empty bottles, tin cans, a scarecrow wearing a hat that had seen better days. "You're up early," she said. "Didn't sleep." He handed her a rifle. "Neither did you. I heard you pacing." "The children are still asleep." "Good. We got maybe an hour before they wake. That's an hour of training." He positioned himself behind her, adjusting her grip. Remember what I taught you. Breathe. Aim. Squeeze. Hannah raised the rifle. Her arms trembled from exhaustion and fear, and something else she didn't want to name. You're thinking too much, Caleb said. Don't think. Just shoot. She fired. The bottle shattered. Again. She fired again. Another bottle. Again. Caleb, I need to talk to you about last night. Again. Hannah lowered the rifle. Stop. Just stop for a minute. We don't have minutes to spare. Then make time. She turned to face him. What you said last night, on the porch, I need to know what that meant. Caleb's jaw tightened. It meant what it meant. That's not an answer. It's the only one I got. No, it isn't. Hannah stepped closer. You touched my face. You said you couldn't let me walk away. You said you were doing this for yourself as much as for me. What does that mean, Caleb? What are we doing here? For a long moment he didn't answer. Then he said, I don't know. That's not good enough. It's the truth. His gray eyes met hers. 4 years, Hannah. 4 years I've been dead inside. 4 years I woke up every morning with nothing to live for except revenge and routine. Then you showed up with your children and your fear and your fight, and something inside me started working again. Caleb, I don't know what that means. Don't know if it's love or loneliness or just two broken people finding comfort in the same foxhole. But I know I ain't letting you go. Not to Whitfield. Not to anyone. His voice dropped. That's what I meant. Make of it what you will. Hannah's heart pounded. She should step back, should put distance between them, should remember that attachment was dangerous, that caring for someone gave the world another weapon to use against you. But she didn't step back. I'm scared, she whispered. Me too. What if we don't survive this? Then we'll have fought. That's more than dying slow. Caleb reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. You're worth fighting for, Hannah Sullivan. You and those 5 children. Whatever happens, I want you to know that. Mama. Hannah spun. Samuel stood in the doorway, his face unreadable. How long have you been there? She asked. Long enough. His eyes moved to Caleb. You meant what you said about teaching me to shoot? Caleb nodded. I meant it. Then teach me. I want to be ready when they come. Samuel? Hannah started. Mama, don't. Her son's voice was steady. I ain't a child anymore. You know it. I know it. Let me help. Hannah looked at her boy, this 10-year-old who'd seen too much, grown up too fast, carried too much weight on his thin shoulders. She wanted to protect him, wanted to wrap him in cotton and keep him safe from the ugliness of the world. But the world had already touched him. Marcus Whitfield had made sure of that. All right, she said quietly. Caleb teaches you, but you follow his rules. Every single one. Samuel's face transformed. Not quite a smile, but close. Yes, ma'am. Get the other rifle, Caleb said. The one in the kitchen. We got work to do. The days blurred together. Caleb trained them relentlessly. Hannah learned to reload faster, to aim better, to shoot without flinching. Samuel proved a natural, his young eyes sharp and his hands steady. Even Rachel asked to learn, and Caleb taught her too, his patience surprising Hannah. She's good, he told Hannah one evening. Better than good, she's got the instinct. She's 12. Old enough to defend her family. Caleb's voice softened. I know you don't like it, but when the time comes, you'll be glad she knows how to fight. Will I? You will, trust me. Hannah wanted to argue, but she'd stopped having arguments she could win. On the 5th day after the sheriff's visit, a rider appeared on the ridge. Caleb saw him first. Get the children inside. Who is it? Don't know, don't care, inside, now. Hannah gathered her children, herding them to the back room. Samuel tried to stay, and she had to physically push him through the door. I can help. You can help by protecting your sisters and brothers. That's your job right now. You understand." Samuel's jaw clenched, but he nodded. Hannah grabbed her rifle and returned to the porch. Caleb stood at the railing, his own weapon raised, watching the rider approach. The man was alone. That was the first surprise. The second was his age older than Hannah expected, with gray hair and a face weathered by decades of hard living. "That's far enough," Caleb called when the man reached the gate. "State your business." "Looking for Caleb Thornton." The man's voice was rough but steady. "You him?" "Depends on who's asking." "Name's Josiah Webb, Deputy Marshal, Wyoming Territory." He reached slowly for his coat. "I'm gonna show you my credentials. Don't shoot me." Caleb's rifle didn't waver. "Slow." The man produced a badge, holding it up so they could see. "I ain't with Whitfield. Ain't with the sheriff either. I'm here on different business." "What business?" "The kind that involves bringing Marcus Whitfield to justice." Webb tucked the badge away. "Can I come in? Got a long story to tell." Caleb looked at Hannah. She nodded slightly. "Come in," Caleb said, "but keep your hands where I can see them." They gathered in the kitchen, Hannah, Caleb, and the deputy marshal who'd ridden 12 miles to find them. Webb sat at the table, his hands wrapped around a cup of coffee, and began to talk. "I've been investigating Marcus Whitfield for 3 years. Money laundering, land fraud, bribery. The man's got judges and sheriffs on his payroll across 4 territories. Every time I get close, witnesses disappear or charges get dropped." "What's that got to do with us?" Caleb asked. "Her." Webb nodded at Hannah. "Mrs. Sullivan here worked in Whitfield's household for 18 months. She knows things, saw things, things that could put Whitfield in prison for the rest of his life." Hannah's blood went cold. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, you do." Webb's eyes were sharp, but not unkind. "The ledgers in his study, the meetings with territorial officials, the men who came in the middle of the night and left before dawn. You saw all of it, Mrs. Sullivan. You just didn't know what you were seeing." "She's not testifying against anyone," Caleb said flatly. "You want to use her as bait, find another way." "I ain't asking her to be bait. I'm asking her to be a witness." Webb leaned forward. "You help me bring down Whitfield, I can make the charges against you disappear. Theft, arson, whatever else he's claimed. I can clear your name. And if I refuse? Then you keep running. Keep looking over your shoulder. Keep waiting for Whitfield's men to find you." Webb's voice gentled. "He ain't gonna stop, Mrs. Sullivan. Men like Whitfield never stop. The only way out is through." Hannah looked at Caleb. His face was stone, revealing nothing. "How do we know this isn't a trap?" Caleb asked. "How do we know Whitfield didn't send you to draw her out?" "You don't. Can't prove a negative." Webb stood slowly. "But I can tell you this, Whitfield's already sent men. 8 of them left Kansas City 3 days ago. They'll be here by week's end and they ain't coming to talk." Hannah's stomach dropped. 8. 8. And their leader is a man named Silas Burke, former Army, former bounty hunter, current killer for hire. Webb's expression darkened. "Burke don't take prisoners, Mrs. Sullivan. He takes bodies." "Then what do you suggest?" Caleb's voice was tight. "I suggest you let me help. I got resources, men, access to the law, the real law, not the kind Whitfield bought." Webb moved toward the door. "You got 3 days to decide. After that, Burke arrives and your options get a lot narrower." He left without waiting for an answer. Hannah sat at the table, her hands shaking. 8 men, a professional killer, 3 days. "We should run," she whispered. "Take the children and run where's home." Caleb sat beside her. "You said it yourself. He won't stop. Wherever you go, he'll follow. And next time you might not have walls and weapons between you and his men." "Then what do? We fight, like we planned." "Against 8 men, Caleb, we can't." "We can. We will." His hand covered hers. I told you I'd die before I let anyone hurt you. I meant it. I don't want you to die. The words came out louder than she intended. The children would hear. She didn't care. I don't want you to die, she repeated quieter now. I've lost too much already. I can't lose you too. Caleb's expression shifted. Something cracked in the stone of his face. Hannah, don't. She pulled her hand away. Don't tell me you're doing this for me. Don't tell me it's about protection or obligation or whatever else you've convinced yourself. Just tell me the truth. The truth. Yes, the truth. What am I to you, Caleb? Really? He was silent for a long moment. Then he reached out, took her face in both hands and kissed her. Not gentle, not careful. A kiss that held 4 years of loneliness and grief, and the desperate hope that maybe somehow he could feel something again. Hannah kissed him back. Her hands found his chest, his shoulders, his face. The fear melted away, replaced by something fiercer, something that made her feel alive for the first time since Thomas died. When they finally pulled apart, Caleb rested his forehead against hers. That's what you are to me, he said hoarsely. That's the truth. Whatever else happens, I needed you to know. Caleb. Mama. They sprang apart. Rachel stood in the doorway, her face pale. Rachel, There's someone coming. From the north. Samuel saw them from the barn. Caleb was moving before she finished speaking. Hannah grabbed her rifle and followed. It wasn't Burke, not yet. Just the sheriff riding hard with 2 deputies carrying papers that fluttered in the wind. Thornton? The sheriff pulled up at the gate. I got a warrant. Signed by a territorial judge. Surrender Hannah Sullivan, or face obstruction charges. That warrant's not worth the paper it's on, Caleb called back. Whitfield bought your judge. That ain't my concern. Law's the law. The sheriff drew his weapon. I'm done asking nice. Open the gate. And if I don't, then I'll open it myself and arrest you both. Hannah stepped onto the porch, rifle raised. You want me, Sheriff? Come and get me. The sheriff's eyes widened. Ma'am, put that down. You're only making this worse. Worse than what? Worse than being dragged back to a man who beat my children. Worse than watching my family die because I trusted the wrong people. Hannah's voice shook with fury. You want to arrest me? You go right ahead. But you'll have to shoot me first. Mama, no. Samuel burst from the barn, running toward the porch. Caleb caught him, held him back. Let me go. That's my mama. Stay back, boy, the sheriff said. This ain't your fight. The hell it ain't. Samuel struggled against Caleb's grip. She's my mother. You think I'm going to stand here while you take her away? The sheriff hesitated. His deputies exchanged uncertain looks. And in that moment of hesitation, the sound of hoofbeats rose from the south. Everyone turned. Deputy Marshal Webb rode toward them, flanked by 4 men wearing federal badges. He pulled up beside the sheriff, his expression hard. Sheriff Dawson, fancy meeting you here. Marshal Webb, this is local business. Is it 'cause I got a telegram from the territorial governor saying otherwise? Webb produced a folded paper. Federal intervention. The case of Hannah Sullivan is now under my jurisdiction. Your warrant is null and void. The sheriff's face went red. You can't do that. Already did. Take it up with the governor if you don't like it. Webb nodded toward Hannah. Mrs. Sullivan, you and your children are under federal protection until this matter is resolved. Anyone who tries to harm you answers to me. Hannah's rifle lowered slowly. Marshal, you made a decision, ma'am. This is me helping. Webb turned back to the sheriff. You got 2 choices, Dawson. Ride away now, or spend the night in your own jail while I investigate how deep in Whitfield's pocket you really are. The sheriff's hand twitched toward his gun. Don't even think about it, Caleb said quietly. You'll be dead before you clear leather. A long, terrible moment. The sheriff's jaw worked. Then he yanked his horse around. This ain't over, Webb. Whitfield's got connections higher than a territorial governor. Then I look forward to meeting them." Webb's voice was pleasant. "Now get off this property before I lose my patience." The sheriff and his deputies rode away. Hannah's legs gave out. She sat down hard on the porch steps, her rifle clattering beside her. "Mama!" Samuel broke free of Caleb's grip, running to her side. "Mama, are you okay?" "I'm okay, baby. I'm okay." But she wasn't. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Her heart pounded so hard she could feel it in her throat. Webb dismounted and approached. "You all right, Mrs. Sullivan?" "You saved my life." "Not yet. Burke's still coming." Webb's face was grim. "We bought time, that's all. 3 days, maybe less. You need to decide what you're going to do with them." "I already decided." Hannah looked at Caleb, who'd come to stand beside her. "We fight. Both of you. All of us." Samuel's voice cut in. "My mama, Mr. Thornton, Rachel, and me, we fight together." Webb studied the boy for a moment. Then he nodded slowly. "All right. Then let's talk strategy." They gathered in the kitchen again, this time with Webb and his men. Maps spread across the table, lines drawn in pencil showing approach routes and defensive positions. "Burke's good," Webb said. "Army trained, smart, ruthless. He won't come in guns blazing. He'll scout first. Test defenses. Look for weaknesses." "What weaknesses?" Caleb asked. "The children." Webb's voice was flat. "He'll use them if he can. Threaten them to draw you out. That's his style." Hannah's blood turned to ice. "He wouldn't." "He would. He has before. That's why we need to get them out. Send them somewhere safe until this is over." "No." Hannah's voice was sharp. "I'm not sending my children away. I'm not letting them out of my sight." "Mrs. Sullivan." "No, you don't understand." She stood her chair, scraping back. "I've spent 3 years trying to protect them. 3 years of running and hiding and watching over my shoulder. I'm not separating from them now. Not when the danger is greatest." "Mama's right," Rachel said quietly. She'd been standing in the doorway listening. "We stay together. Whatever happens, we stay together." Webb looked at Caleb. "Can you protect them all?" "I'll die trying." "That's not an answer." "It's the only one I got." Caleb's jaw set. "The children stay. We fortify this place, we train everyone who can hold a gun, and we wait for Burke to come. When he does, we make him regret it." Webb was silent for a long moment. Then he sighed. "All right, your funeral. But if we're doing this, we're doing it right." They spent the remaining days preparing. Caleb boarded windows and reinforced doors. Webb's men dug trenches and set up shooting positions. Hannah stockpiled supplies, food, water, ammunition, enough to survive a siege. And she taught her children to hide. "If the shooting starts," she told them, "huddled in the root cellar beneath the house. You come here, all of you. You stay quiet, you stay still, and you don't come out until someone you trust calls for you." "What if no one calls?" David asked, his voice small. Hannah's heart broke. "Then you wait until morning. If no one comes by morning, you take your brothers and sisters and you run. Go to town. Find the church. Ask for help." "But Mama..." "Promise me, David. Promise you'll run if you have to." Her 6-year-old son looked at her with eyes that had seen too much. Then he nodded. "I promise, Mama." The night before, Burke was expected. Hannah found Caleb on the porch. "Can't sleep?" she asked. "Could ask you the same." She sat beside him. The night was cold and clear, stars scattered across the sky like scattered hope. "I've been thinking," she said quietly, "about what happens after. After. If we survive. When this is over." She turned to look at him. "What happens to us?" Caleb was silent for a long moment. Then he said, "I've been thinking about that too. And I know what I want. Question is what you want." "What do you want, Caleb?" He turned to face her fully. In the starlight, his hard features softened. I want you to stay. You and your children. I want to wake up every morning knowing you're here. I want to help raise those kids, teach Samuel to run this ranch, watch Rachel grow into the woman she's gonna be. I want... His voice cracked. I want a family again, Hannah, and I want it to be with you. Tears burned her eyes. Caleb, you don't have to answer now. Don't have to answer ever if you don't want to. But when this fight's over, if we're both still breathing, I'm gonna ask you proper. I'm gonna ask you to marry me and make this permanent. I don't need to wait. What? Hannah took his face in her hands. I said I don't need to wait. The answer is yes, Caleb. When this is over, the answer is yes. Something broke open in his expression. Relief, hope, love emotions he'd kept locked away for 4 years spilling out all at once. He kissed her. Softer this time. A promise instead of a question. When they pulled apart, Hannah rested her head on his shoulder. We might die tomorrow. We might? Doesn't scare you? Dying, no. Losing you. His arm tightened around her. That scares me more than anything. They sat together in the darkness, two broken people who'd somehow found each other waiting for dawn and the violence it would bring. And when the sun finally rose, Hannah was ready. Ready to fight. Ready to die if she had to. Ready to kill the man who'd hurt her children if she got the chance. Marcus Whitfield had taken 3 years of her life. He wasn't taking any more. They came at dawn. Hannah heard the hoofbeats, first distant thunder rolling across the frozen ground. She was in the kitchen, hands wrapped around coffee she couldn't drink, when Caleb burst through the door. They're here. Get the children to the cellar. Now. She didn't hesitate. 3 weeks of training had burned hesitation out of her. She moved through the house, gathering her children with quiet efficiency. Rachel, take your brothers and sister. You know where to go. Mama, let me stay. Let me fight. The cellar, Rachel. Now. Her daughter's jaw clenched, but she obeyed. Samuel tried to follow Hannah instead. No. She grabbed his shoulder. Your job is protecting them. Remember what Caleb taught you. Mama. I need you to be brave, Samuel. Can you do that for me? Her son looked at her with eyes too old for 10 years. Then he nodded once and disappeared after his siblings. Hannah grabbed her rifle and ran to the porch. 8 riders had stopped at the gate. Webb's men were already in position. 4 of them spread across the property, rifles raised. Caleb stood at the porch railing, his weapon steady. And at the front of the riders, a man Hannah didn't recognize sat tall in his saddle. Lean face, cold eyes. The look of someone who'd stopped feeling human a long time ago. Silas Burke. Caleb Thornton, Burke called. His voice carried easily across the distance. I got no quarrel with you. Hand over the woman and her children, and we'll ride out peaceful. That ain't happening. Figured you'd say that. Burke's hand rested on his gun. Marshal Webb. Didn't expect federal involvement. This changes nothing. Changes everything, Burke. Webb stepped out from behind the barn. You're outgunned and outmanned. Turn around now and I might let you live. Burke laughed. The sound made Hannah's skin crawl. Outgunned. You got 4 men and a grieving rancher. I got 8 professionals. His eyes found Hannah on the porch. Mrs. Sullivan, Marcus sends his regards. Says he's looking forward to seeing you again. Says he's got special plans for your children. Hannah's finger tightened on the trigger. Tell Marcus to rot in hell. You can tell him yourself. He's waiting in town. Burke smiled. That's right. The man himself came all this way just for you. Must be true love. Hannah's blood turned to ice. Marcus was here. In Wyoming. Less than 12 miles away. You're lying, she said. Am I asked the sheriff? He's been real accommodating. Burke leaned forward in his saddle. Last chance, Mrs. Sullivan. Come quiet and your children live. Make this difficult, and I'll burn this place to the ground with them inside. You touch my children, I'll kill you myself. Lady, I've killed more people than you've had hot meals. You ain't scaring nobody." Burke straightened. "All right, we do this the hard way." He drew his gun. Everything happened at once. Burke fired at Webb. Webb dove sideways, the bullet missing by inches. Caleb's rifle cracked, and one of Burke's men tumbled from his horse. Hannah aimed at Burke himself, squeezed the trigger, missed as her target moved. "Inside." Caleb grabbed her arm, pulling her toward the door. "Now." Bullets punched through the porch railing. Wood splintered. Glass shattered somewhere behind them. Hannah stumbled through the doorway, Caleb right behind her. "The windows," he said, already moving. "Cover the east side. Don't let them flank us." Hannah ran to the window Caleb had indicated. Through the broken glass she could see riders circling the house. One of Webb's men was down, not moving. Another was dragging himself toward cover, blood trailing behind him. She raised her rifle, aimed, fired. A rider jerked in his saddle but didn't fall. She'd hit him, but not well enough. "Again," she muttered to herself. "Breathe. Aim. Squeeze." She fired again. This time, the man went down. "Good shot," Caleb called from across the room. "Keep it up." The battle raged. Hannah lost track of time. Lost track of everything except the rhythm of loading, aiming, firing. Her shoulder ached from the rifle's kick. Her ears rang from the constant gunfire. Smoke filled the house, making her eyes water. And through it all she thought of her children in the cellar, huddled together in the dark, listening to their mother fight for their lives. "Caleb." Webb's voice came from outside. "They're trying to get to the barn." "I see them." Caleb moved to a different window, fired twice in rapid succession. "Got one. The other's behind the water trough. I'll circle around." "Webb, wait." More gunfire. A scream that cut off abruptly. Hannah's stomach lurched. Caleb was that. "Keep shooting." She kept shooting, but they were losing. She could feel it. Burke's men were spreading out, finding cover, picking off Webb's deputies one by one. The federal marshal himself had disappeared around the side of the house, and Hannah didn't know if he was alive or dead. "Caleb." Her voice shook. "Caleb, there's too many." "I know." "What do we do?" He didn't answer, just kept firing. Then the back door exploded inward. Hannah spun. A man stood in the doorway, one of Burke's covered in snow and blood, a pistol in his hand. He saw her and raised his weapon. She shot him in the chest. The man staggered, looked down at the red spreading across his shirt, looked up at Hannah with something like surprise. Then he fell. Hannah stared at the body. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. She'd killed before the rider outside, but this was different. This was close. This was a man's eyes going empty 2 feet in front of her. "Hannah!" Caleb's voice cut through her shock. "More coming, move." She moved, stepped over the body without looking down, took position beside Caleb at the front windows. Outside, the yard had become a battlefield. Bodies lay in the snow, some Burke's men, some Webb's. The deputy marshal himself was crouched behind the water trough, blood running down his face, still firing. And Burke was walking toward the house. Not running, not ducking, walking. Like the bullets flying around him were nothing more than inconvenient rain. "Thornton," he called. "I'm coming in. You can shoot me or you can listen. Your choice." "I'll shoot." Caleb raised his rifle. "Then your woman's boy dies." Hannah's heart stopped. Burke reached behind him and dragged something forward. Someone, a small figure struggling and crying. "Samuel." "No!" The scream tore out of Hannah's throat. "No, no, no!" Found him sneaking out of the cellar. Burke pressed his pistol against Samuel's head. Brave kid. Stupid, but brave. "Let him go." Hannah was at the door rifle, forgotten every instinct, screaming at her to run to her son. Caleb's arm shot out, holding her back. "Don't," he said quietly. "That's what he wants. He has my son. I know. Let me handle this. Caleb, trust me." Hannah's body shook with the effort of staying still. Her son was 20 feet away, a gun to his head, and every fiber of her being screamed to run to him. But she stayed. Caleb stepped onto the porch, his rifle lowered, but not dropped. "What do you want, Burke?" "Same thing I wanted from the start. The woman. Her children. All of them." Burke's grip tightened on Samuel's collar. "You give them up, I let you live. Might even let the marshal live too. Simple deal. And if I don't, then I put a bullet in this boy's brain and come take them anyway. Your choice." Samuel's eyes found Hannah's. He wasn't crying anymore. His face was pale but set, and Hannah saw something in his expression that terrified her. He was going to do something stupid. She could see it. Could see him calculating, planning, getting ready to fight back. "Samuel," she said, her voice cracking. "Don't. Listen to your mama, boy." Burke pressed the gun harder against Samuel's skull. "Don't be a hero." "I ain't trying to be a hero." Samuel's voice was steady, too steady for a 10-year-old. "I'm just trying to protect my family." "Noble. Stupid, but noble." Burke looked at Hannah. "Clock's ticking, Mrs. Sullivan. You got 10 seconds to walk out that door or your boy dies." "Mama, don't..." Samuel struggled against Burke's grip. "Don't give yourself up for me. Baby. I mean it. He's gonna kill us anyway. Don't let him win." Burke struck Samuel across the face. The boy cried out, blood spraying from his split lip. Hannah's vision went red. She was off the porch before Caleb could stop her. Running across the snow toward Burke, toward her son, toward death itself, if that's what it took. "Hannah, no." Burke smiled, raised his pistol toward her. And Samuel bit down on the man's hand, hard enough to draw blood. Burke screamed. His grip on Samuel loosened. The boy twisted free, dropping to the ground, and Hannah was there, grabbing him, pulling him behind her. Burke raised his gun again. A rifle cracked. The bullet took Burke in the shoulder, spinning him sideways. He dropped his pistol, clutching the wound, and looked up to see Caleb on the porch, smoke rising from his rifle barrel. "That's for threatening a child," Caleb said. Burke's remaining men, 3 of them, now the others dead or dying, started toward the house. Webb appeared from behind the barn, wounded, but upright, and fired twice. 1 man fell. "Fall back," Burke shouted, staggering toward his horse. "Fall back, damn you!" The surviving men retreated. Burke managed to climb into his saddle, his shoulder bleeding freely, and spurred his horse toward the gate. "This ain't over, Thornton," he screamed. "Whitfield's gonna burn this whole territory to get what he wants." Then he was gone. All of them gone, leaving bodies and blood and destruction behind. Hannah collapsed to her knees in the snow. Samuel clutched against her chest. Her son was shaking, crying now that the danger had passed, and she held him tight enough to hurt. "You stupid, brave, stupid boy," she sobbed. "What were you thinking? I couldn't stay in the cellar." Samuel's voice broke. "I heard shooting. I thought you were dead. I know, baby. I know." Caleb reached them, dropping to his knees beside them. His hand found Hannah's shoulder, then Samuel's hair, and for a moment they stayed there, the 3 of them breathing and alive. "Is everyone okay?" Rachel's voice came from the house. She stood in the doorway, the other children behind her, all of them pale and terrified. "Everyone's okay," Hannah called. "Stay inside. We're coming." Webb limped toward them, blood still running down his face from a scalp wound. "Burke's retreating. Won't go far. He'll regroup, come back with reinforcements." "How long?" Caleb asked. "Day, maybe 2. Whitfield's in town. He'll want to hear what happened before he makes his next move." Hannah looked up at the marshal. "You said Marcus is in town." "Sheriff's office last I heard. Probably paying off more officials. Something cold and hard settled in Hannah's chest. Then this ends tonight. Hannah, Caleb started. No. She stood Samuel still pressed against her side. I'm done waiting, done running, done letting that man terrorize my family. Her voice shook with rage. If Marcus Whitfield wants me, he can have me. But I'm coming to him on my own terms. That's suicide, Webb said flatly. Maybe. Or maybe it's the only way to end this. Hannah looked at Caleb. You said you'd die for me. Would you kill for me? You know I would. Then let's go kill Marcus Whitfield. The planning took an hour. Webb wanted to wait for reinforcements. Hannah refused. Caleb sided with Hannah. Every hour we wait is an hour Whitfield uses to get stronger, Caleb said. He's already got the sheriff, probably half the town. We hit him now while he's not expecting it. With what army? Webb demanded. I got one man still standing. You got yourself and a woman who's never been in a real fight. I killed 2 men today, Hannah said quietly. Don't tell me I haven't been in a real fight. Webb studied her. Something in his expression shifted. You're serious about this? Dead serious. Even knowing you might not come back. Especially knowing that. Hannah's jaw set. My children are never going to be safe as long as Marcus Whitfield is alive. The law can't touch him. Money can't stop him. The only thing that'll end this is a bullet. And you're willing to be the one who pulls the trigger. I'm willing to be the one who tries. They left at midnight. Rachel was in charge. 14 years old and carrying a weight no child should carry. But she stood straight when Hannah gave her the instructions. If we're not back by dawn, you take your brothers and sister and you go. The church in town, Pastor Mitchell. He'll help you. Mama, I want to come. I know you do. But your siblings need you more. Hannah kissed her forehead. I love you, Rachel. I love all of you. No matter what happens, remember that. I love you too, Mama. Rachel's voice cracked. Please come back. I'll try, baby. I'll try. The ride to town took 2 hours. Hannah, Caleb, Webb, and Webb's surviving deputy, a young man named Carter, who'd taken a bullet through the arm but refused to stay behind. Whitfield's probably got men watching the roads, Webb said as they approached. We need to come in quiet. The back way, Caleb said. Through Miller's property, old trail that comes out behind the church. They dismounted at the edge of town and continued on foot. The streets were empty, the hour too late for honest folks and too early for the dishonest ones. The sheriff's office glowed with lamplight. How many inside? Webb asked. No way to know until we're in, Carter replied. Then we go in fast. Caleb checked his rifle. Webb, you take the back. Carter, watch the street. Hannah. I'm going through the front door, Hannah said. Hannah. He's expecting me. That's our advantage. Her hands tightened on her rifle. Let me draw him out. When he's focused on me, you come in behind. That's too dangerous. That's the plan. Hannah looked at him. You said you'd follow me into hell. This is hell, Caleb. You coming? He stared at her for a long moment. Then he nodded. Right behind you. She walked to the front door of the sheriff's office. Her hands didn't shake. Her heart beat steady. All the fear, all the terror of the past 3 years had burned away, leaving nothing but cold, clear purpose. She pushed the door open. Marcus Whitfield sat behind the sheriff's desk like he owned it, which Hannah supposed he probably did. He looked older than she remembered, heavier, grayer, but his eyes were the same, cold and calculating and completely without mercy. Hannah. His voice was silk over steel. I wondered when you'd stop running. I stopped running the day I left you. Did you? Then what do you call the last 3 months? Marcus stood slowly. 300 miles, Hannah. 12 towns. You ran so far and so fast I almost admired it. Where's the sheriff? Sleeping. He had a long day. Marcus smiled. Just us now. Like old times. Hannah raised her rifle. Old times, you beat me. You beat my children. You made our lives a living hell. I gave you everything. A home, security, a future. You gave me a cage. I gave you what you deserved. His voice hardened. You were nothing when I found you. A widow with 5 brats and more debt than sense. I saved you. You owned me. There's a difference. Is there? Marcus stepped closer. Look at you now. Pointing a gun you don't know how to use, thinking you can hurt me. You're still nothing, Hannah. You'll always be nothing. Maybe. Hannah's finger tightened on the trigger. But at least I'll be free. She fired. The shot went wide. Marcus moved at the last second, but it clipped his arm, drawing blood. He screamed more from rage than pain and lunged toward her. Hannah tried to fire again, but he was too close too fast. He knocked the rifle from her hands and grabbed her throat, slamming her against the wall. Stupid, he hissed. So stupid. Did you really think you could kill me? Did you really think? The back door crashed open. Caleb came through, shooting. Marcus threw Hannah aside, drawing a pistol from his belt. The 2 men fired at the same time. Caleb staggered. Blood blossomed on his shoulder. But Marcus looked down at the hole in his chest with something like surprise. No, he whispered. No, this isn't. He fell. Hannah crawled to him, not to help, but to watch. To see the life drain from the eyes of the man who'd tormented her for 3 years. You lose, she said quietly. I win. My children are free. Marcus tried to speak. Blood bubbled at his lips. Then his eyes went empty, and he was gone. Hannah turned to Caleb. He was slumped against the wall, hand pressed to his shoulder, blood seeping between his fingers. Caleb! She scrambled to his side. Oh God, Caleb. I'm all right. His voice was weak but steady. Just a scratch. That's not a scratch. I've had worse. He reached up, touched her face with his bloody hand. You okay? You're asking me if I'm okay? You just got shot. Yeah, but you're the one who matters. Hannah wanted to laugh, wanted to cry, wanted to shake him for being so stupid and brave and wonderful. Instead, she kissed him. His blood was warm on her lips, his hand tangled in her hair. And for one perfect moment, nothing else mattered. Not the dead man on the floor, not the chaos around them, not the future that still held 1,000 uncertainties. Just them. Just this. Webb's voice broke through. We need to move. Burke's men are going to hear that gunfire. Can you walk? Hannah asked Caleb. I can do more than walk. He pushed himself upright, grimacing. Let's go home. Home. The word wrapped around Hannah's heart like a promise. They left Marcus Whitfield's body on the floor of the sheriff's office. Let someone else deal with it. Let the law sort out the aftermath. Hannah had already gotten everything she needed. The ride back to the ranch took forever, and no time at all. Caleb swayed in his saddle, blood loss making him weak, but he refused to stop. Need to see the children, he kept saying. Need to know they're safe. They're safe. Rachel's with them. Need to see. Dawn was breaking when they reached the gate. Rachel stood on the porch, Samuel beside her, the younger children visible through the window. Mama! Rachel ran to meet them. Mama, you're back. She saw the blood on Hannah's hands, on her clothes. What happened? It's over, baby. Hannah slid from her horse and caught her daughter in a fierce embrace. Marcus is dead. It's over. Dead? You did, you. Caleb did. Hannah looked at the man she loved, pale and bleeding but alive. He saved us all. Samuel helped Caleb down from his horse. The boy's face was still bruised from Burke's blow, but his eyes shone with something that looked like hope. You killed the bad man, Samuel said. I did. Good. Samuel's jaw set. He deserved it. Maybe he did. Caleb's hand found Samuel's shoulder. But killing's never something to celebrate. Remember that. Yes, sir. They made it inside. Webb's man Carter went for the doctor while Hannah tended to Caleb's wound as best she could. It was bad, worse than he'd admitted, but the bullet had gone clean through. Gonna have a scar, she said, wrapping the bandage. Got plenty of those already. This one's different. How so? This one you got protecting my family. Hannah tied off the bandage and looked at him. I can't ever repay that. Don't want repayment. Caleb caught her hand. Want you. Want those children. Want to wake up every morning knowing I've got something worth living for. You've got it. Hannah leaned down and kissed him softly. You've got all of it. The children gathered around them, Rachel and Samuel Mary and David Little William climbing into Caleb's lap despite his wound. Does this mean we can stay? William asked. Yeah, buddy. Caleb's arms came around the boy. This means you can stay. Forever. Hannah looked at Caleb. He looked back at her. Forever, they said together. And for the first time in 3 years, Hannah believed it. The doctor came and went. Caleb would live. The bullet had missed anything vital, and with rest and proper care he'd heal. But those first few days, Hannah barely left his side. You need to sleep, Rachel told her on the second morning. You've been up for 2 days straight. I'm fine. Mama, you're not fine. You're exhausted. Rachel's voice gentled. He's not going anywhere. I'll watch him. Go rest. Hannah looked at Caleb sleeping fitfully in his bed, his face pale against the pillow. She'd almost lost him, had come within inches of watching another man she loved die. Wake me if anything changes. I will. She slept for 14 hours. When she woke, the house smelled like bacon and coffee, and the sound of children's laughter drifted from the kitchen. Hannah lay still for a moment, letting the sounds wash over her. Normal sounds. Safe sounds. The sounds of a family that had stopped running. Mama's awake. William's voice. Then small feet running, and her youngest son launched himself onto the bed, his arms wrapping around her neck. Mama, Mama, Mr. Caleb's awake too. He's eating breakfast. Rachel made biscuits, and they're not burned this time. Hannah laughed. The sound surprised her, rusty from disuse, unfamiliar in her own throat. That's wonderful, baby. And Samuel says we can stay forever. Is that true? Are we really staying forever? Yes, baby. Hannah held her son close. We're really staying forever. She found Caleb at the kitchen table, his shoulder heavily bandaged, wincing every time he moved, but stubbornly refusing help. Samuel sat beside him, cutting his meat into smaller pieces while pretending not to. You shouldn't be out of bed, Hannah said. Shouldn't be a lot of things. Caleb's eyes found hers, and something warm passed between them. Needed to see you. You saw me yesterday. Yesterday you were crying. Wanted to see you when you weren't. Hannah touched his face. I'm not crying now. I noticed. He caught her hand, pressed a kiss to her palm. Sit. Eat. We got things to discuss. She sat. Rachel brought her coffee and a plate of food, and Hannah realized she was starving. 3 days of fear and fighting had burned through every reserve she had. Webb came by while you were sleeping, Caleb said. Burke's gone. Ran back to Kansas City with what was left of his men. Will he come back? Doubt it. Whitfield's dead. Nobody's paying him anymore. Caleb's jaw tightened. Besides, Webb put out a federal warrant. Burke shows his face in Wyoming territory again. He's a dead man. And Marcus? Hannah's voice caught on the name. What happens now? That's the other thing. Caleb exchanged a look with Rachel. Webb's been doing some digging. Turns out Marcus Whitfield wasn't just a businessman. He was into everything land fraud, bribery, money laundering. Webb's got evidence that could bring down half the judges in Kansas City. What does that mean for us? Means you're clear. Caleb smiled a real smile, the first one she'd seen from him in days. All the charges against you, the theft, the arson, they're dropped. Webb's office is issuing a formal pardon. Your name's clean, Hannah. Completely clean. Hannah couldn't breathe. Mama? Samuel touched her arm. Mama, are you okay? I'm okay. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I never thought... I know. Caleb reached across the table, took her hand. It's over. Really over. You're free. Free. The word had lost meaning over 3 years of running. She'd forgotten what it felt like to not look over her shoulder, forgotten what it meant to walk down a street without fear, forgotten that normal people didn't calculate escape routes every time they entered a room. What do we do now? She whispered. Whatever we want. Caleb squeezed her hand. For the first time in a long time, we get to choose. The days that followed blurred together in the best possible way. Caleb healed slowly, stubbornly refusing to stay in bed, insisting on doing chores that made Hannah want to strangle him. But the color returned to his face, and the pain faded from his movements, and by the end of the second week, he was almost himself again. The children thrived. Samuel threw himself into ranch work with a passion that surprised everyone. Caleb started teaching him to break horses, and the boy took to it like he'd been born in a saddle. He's got talent, Caleb told Hannah one evening, watching Samuel work with a young mare in the corral. Real talent. With time, he could run a ranch of his own. He's 10. He won't be 10 forever. Caleb's arm came around her shoulders. And he won't always be scared either. I can see it fading. Every day a little more of the fear leaves his eyes. Hannah leaned into him. I see it too. Rachel started school in town. She came home the first day bursting with stories about the other girls, the teacher, the books she'd been assigned. At 12, she was behind her classmates, but she was determined to catch up. Miss Patterson says I read better than most of the older students, Rachel reported proudly. She says if I keep working hard, I could be a teacher myself someday. Would you like that? Hannah asked. I think so. I like helping people learn things. Rachel's face softened. Papa used to say knowledge was the one thing nobody could take away from you. I want to give that to other children. Your papa would be proud of you. I know. Rachel hugged her mother. I think he'd be proud of all of us. Mary began to talk more. Not a lot, she would never be chatty like David, but enough. She asked questions. She offered opinions. She started playing with William instead of just watching him. She's healing, the doctor told Hannah during a routine visit. The scar on her face will fade with time. The scars inside will take longer, but she's healing. David and William were simply children again. They ran and played and fought over toys and demanded stories at bedtime. The shadows in their eyes lightened. The nightmares came less often. And Hannah learned to breathe. It happened slowly. First, she stopped checking the windows every hour. Then she stopped sleeping with a rifle beside her bed. Then one morning, she woke up and realized she hadn't thought about Marcus Whitfield at all the day before. You're smiling, Caleb said, finding her on the porch with her morning coffee. Am I? You are. It's nice. He sat beside her. What's the occasion? No occasion. Just, she struggled to find the words. Just happy. I think I'm just happy. Caleb was quiet for a moment. Then he said, I got something I've been meaning to ask you. What? Not here, tonight, after the children are asleep. He stood, kissed the top of her head. I've got some things to take care of first. He disappeared before she could ask more questions. That evening, after supper, after dishes, after 5 children had been wrestled into bed, with varying degrees of success, Caleb found Hannah in the kitchen. Walk with me. She followed him outside. The night was cold, but clear stars scattered across the sky like scattered diamonds. They walked in silence to the small rise behind the barn where 2 wooden crosses stood side by side. Catherine and Thomas Thornton, Caleb's wife and son. I come here sometimes, Caleb said quietly. Talk to them. Tell them about my day. Sounds crazy, I know. It doesn't sound crazy. Been talking to them about you lately. He turned to face her. About what you mean to me. About what those children mean to me. Caleb, let me finish. He took her hands. I told you once that I wanted to marry you. Make this permanent. Asked you to wait until it was over, until we were safe. Well? A ghost of a smile crossed his face. It's over. We're safe. So I'm asking proper now. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a ring. Simple. Silver. A small stone that caught the starlight. This was my mother's, he said. She gave it to me before she died. Told me to give it to the woman I loved. I gave it to Catherine. When she died, I took it back. Thought I'd never have reason to give it away again. Hannah's heart pounded. But then you showed up. Caleb's voice roughened. You and your 5 children, and your fear and your courage, and you made this house feel like a home again, made me feel like a man instead of a ghost. Caleb. Hannah Sullivan, I love you. I love your children like they were my own. I want to spend whatever time I've got left on this earth making sure you never have to run again. He held up the ring. Will you marry me? Hannah looked at this man, this grieving, stubborn, beautiful man who'd saved her life and her children's lives, who'd stood against an army for them, who'd been willing to die for them. Yes, she whispered. Yes, yes. She laughed, tears streaming down her face. Yes, Caleb Thornton. I'll marry you. He slid the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. Then he kissed her, and Hannah forgot about the cold, forgot about everything except this moment, this man, this promise of a future she'd stopped believing in. I love you, she said against his lips. I love you too. He pulled back, resting his forehead against hers. We should tell the children. In the morning. Tonight, I just want this. Just us. Just us, he agreed. They stayed on the hill for a long time, holding each other under the stars. 2 people who'd found their way through darkness to something that felt like light. The wedding was set for spring. Hannah wanted small, just family and a few friends from town. But word spread, and suddenly the whole territory seemed to want to witness the rancher and the widow who'd faced down an army together. Can't exactly tell people no, Caleb said, looking at the growing guest list with something like horror. We could elope. Don't tempt me. But they didn't elope. They planned a proper wedding with help from Hattie Morgan at the boarding house and Pastor Mitchell at the church. Rachel threw herself into the preparations with enthusiasm that bordered on terrifying. We need flowers, she announced one morning, and a real dress for Mama, and food, lots of food. Mrs. Morgan says she'll help with the cooking. Rachel slowed down. And Samuel needs new clothes. He's grown 3 inches since we got here, and the little ones need baths. William hasn't had a proper bath in... Rachel. Hannah caught her daughter's hands. Breathe. Rachel stopped, looked at her mother, and suddenly, she wasn't a capable 12-year-old planning a wedding. She was a child who'd been through hell and was finally allowing herself to hope. I want it to be perfect, Rachel whispered. I want everything to be perfect for you. Baby, I don't need perfect. Hannah pulled her daughter close. I just need you, all of you. That's all that's ever mattered. But you deserve perfect. After everything, I have perfect. Hannah kissed her forehead. I have you. I have your brothers and sister. I have Caleb. That's more perfect than I ever dreamed. Rachel clung to her for a long moment. Then she pulled back, wiping her eyes. We're still getting you a real dress. All right. We're getting me a real dress. The dress came from Denver. White cotton with lace at the collar and cuffs, simple but beautiful. Hannah stared at herself in the mirror the morning of the wedding and hardly recognized the woman looking back. Not the terrified widow who'd stumbled through a blizzard with 5 starving children. Not the battered woman who'd learned to flinch at every loud noise. Someone new. Someone whole. "You look beautiful, Mama," Mary's voice soft and wondering. Hannah turned to find all 5 of her children watching from the doorway. Rachel in her best dress. Samuel in new clothes that already seemed too small. Mary with a ribbon in her hair. David with his shirt actually tucked in. William with his face scrubbed clean. "You all look beautiful," Hannah said. "I'm not beautiful," Samuel protested. "I'm handsome." "You're something all right," Hannah laughed. "Come here, all of you." They gathered around her, and she held them close, breathing in the scent of soap and childhood and future. "I need you all to know something," she said. "Whatever happens today, whatever happens after, you are the reason I survived. You are the reason I kept fighting. Every step of those 300 miles I took for you." "We know, Mama," Rachel said. "I need to say it." Hannah's voice thickened. "Because I don't say it enough. I love you. All of you. More than I can ever put into words." "We love you too, Mama," David said. "Even when you make us eat vegetables." Hannah laughed through her tears. Even then. The church was packed. Hannah walked down the aisle on no one's arm. She'd walked through hell alone, and she could walk to her wedding the same way. But she wasn't alone. Her children walked beside her, all 5 of them forming a procession that made the congregation murmur with approval. And at the altar, Caleb waited. He wore his best suit, his hair actually combed for once, his face clean-shaven. He looked uncomfortable and impatient and absolutely perfect. "Took you long enough," he murmured as she reached him. "Had to make sure I looked pretty enough for you. Hannah, you could be wearing a flour sack, and you'd still be the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. Charmer. Just honest." Pastor Mitchell cleared his throat. "If we're quite finished." The ceremony was brief, which suited them both. Caleb had never been one for flowery words, and Hannah had heard too many lies dressed up in pretty language. What mattered wasn't the words. What mattered was the promise behind them. "Do you, Caleb Thornton, take this woman to be your lawful wedded wife?" "I do." "And do you, Hannah Sullivan, take this man to be your lawful wedded husband?" Hannah looked at Caleb, at his serious face, at the hope in his gray eyes. "I do." "Then by the power vested in me, I pronounce you man and wife." Pastor Mitchell smiled. "You may kiss the bride." Caleb kissed her. The congregation cheered. And Hannah felt something she hadn't felt in so long she'd almost forgotten it existed. Joy. Pure, uncomplicated joy. The celebration lasted until sunset. Food and dancing and well wishes from people Hannah barely knew, but who treated her like she'd always been part of their community. The children ran wild with other children from town, forming friendships that would last years. Even Samuel unbent enough to smile. As the day faded, Hannah found herself standing at the edge of the gathering watching her family. Rachel was dancing with a boy her age, looking embarrassed and pleased at the same time. Samuel was showing off his horse knowledge to a group of younger boys. Mary was sitting with Caleb's elderly neighbor, Mrs. Crawford, actually talking. David and William were engaged in some complicated game that seemed to involve a lot of running and shrieking. And Caleb was watching her. He crossed to where she stood, took her hand. "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking this doesn't feel real." Hannah leaned into him. 3 months ago, I was dying in a blizzard. Now, I'm married. My children are safe. I'm happy. Terrified, she admitted. Happy and terrified at the same time. Why terrified? Because good things don't last, not for me. Every time I've let myself hope, something's come along to destroy it. Caleb turned her to face him. "Look at me, Hannah." She looked. "I'm not going anywhere. Your children aren't going anywhere. This life we're building, it's real. It's lasting. I can't promise nothing bad will ever happen, but I can promise you won't face it alone." His hands cradled her face. "You're done running. You're done being afraid. From now on you stand, and I stand beside you. Promise. Till death do us part." He kissed her forehead. "And probably beyond that if I have anything to say about it." Hannah laughed. "You're ridiculous. And you love me anyway." "I do." She rose on her toes, kissed him properly. "God help me, I really do." The months that followed proved Caleb right. Nothing catastrophic happened. No villains appeared. No disasters struck. Just ordinary life with its ordinary challenges and ordinary joys. Samuel became Caleb's right hand on the ranch, learning everything the older man could teach him. At 11, he could ride better than most grown men, and had opinions about horse breeding that made the neighbors take notice. Rachel finished her first year of school at the top of her class. She came home glowing with plans for the future, teaching maybe, or nursing. Something that helped people. Mary started speaking in full sentences, then paragraphs. Then, one miraculous day, she told a joke at the dinner table, and the whole family laughed until they cried. David announced he wanted to be a cowboy when he grew up. William wanted to be a cowboy and a train conductor. Caleb told them they could be both if they worked hard enough. And Hannah became whole. She stopped flinching at loud noises. She stopped checking the windows. She stopped dreaming about Marcus Whitfield and woke instead to the smell of coffee and the sound of her husband's voice. Some mornings she would stand on the porch and look out at the ranch. Her ranch now, hers and Caleb's together, and feel overwhelmed by the sheer improbability of it all. "You're doing it again," Caleb said, finding her there on a crisp autumn morning. "Doing what?" "Standing there looking like you can't believe this is your life." "I can't believe this is my life." "Believe it." He wrapped his arms around her from behind. "This is real. You made it real." "We made it real." "Together," he agreed. "Together." Hannah leaned back against his chest, watching the sun rise over the mountains. In the house behind them, she could hear the children waking William's piping voice, David's complaints, Mary telling them both to be quiet. "I used to be so afraid," she said quietly. "Every day, every moment. Afraid of Marcus, afraid of running, afraid of what would happen to my children if I failed. And now I'm afraid of different things." She turned in his arms to face him. "Afraid I'll wake up and this will have been a dream. Afraid I don't deserve this much happiness. You deserve more." Caleb kissed her forehead. "You deserve everything good in this world, Hannah Thornton. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure you get it." "Hannah Thornton," she smiled. "I'm still not used to that." "You will be. Give it time." "Mama!" David's voice exploded from the house. "William's trying to feed the cat to the chickens." "I am not. He's lying." "Am not." "Are too." Hannah sighed. "I should go." Caleb laughed. "I'll handle the horses. You handle the children. You got the easier job." "I know." She went inside to sort out the chaos. The cat was fine. William was outraged. David was smug. Mary was pretending she'd seen nothing. Samuel was eating breakfast like nothing was happening. Rachel was trying to restore order with limited success. Normal. Chaotic. Wonderful. "All right, everyone, sit down," Hannah said, her voice cutting through the noise. "William the cat stays inside. David, stop antagonizing your brother. Rachel, thank you for trying. Samuel, save some bacon for the rest of us. Mary—" "I didn't do anything," Mary said. "I know. That's why you're my favorite." "Mama!" 5 voices protested in unison. Hannah laughed. "I'm kidding. You're all my favorites." The breakfast table settled into its usual rhythm. Arguments about who got the last biscuit. Negotiations over chores. Plans for the day. Complaints about school. Dreams about the future. And underneath it all, the steady heartbeat of a family that had found each other against impossible odds. Later that evening after dinner, after dishes, after homework and baths, and the endless negotiations of bedtime, Hannah sat on the porch with Caleb. The children were asleep. The ranch was quiet. Stars blanketed the Wyoming sky. "I've been thinking," Caleb said. "About what?" "About family. About what it means." He took her hand. "Catherine and Thomas, they'll always be part of me. I'll never forget them. Never stop loving them." "I know. But what we have now, you and me and the children, it doesn't replace what I lost. It's something different, something new." He squeezed her hand. "Something that wouldn't exist if you hadn't walked through that blizzard, if you hadn't been brave enough to knock on my door." "I wasn't brave," Hannah said. "I was desperate." "That's the same thing sometimes." Caleb turned to look at her. "You chose to survive, Hannah. You chose to fight for your children. You chose to trust me when you had no reason to trust anyone. That's courage. That's what got us here." Hannah thought about the woman she'd been. The woman who'd married Thomas Sullivan at 19, full of hope and dreams. The woman who'd been shattered by his death. The woman who'd fallen into Marcus Whitfield's trap and spent 18 months in hell. The woman who'd run 300 miles through winter with 5 children and nothing but desperation. That woman had become someone else, someone stronger, someone who'd stopped running and learned to stand. "Thank you," she said quietly. "For what?" "For seeing me. Not just the scared widow who showed up at your gate, not just the victim who needed saving. Me, all of me." "Hannah." Caleb pulled her close. "I've never seen anything else." They sat together in the darkness, two people who'd been broken and had found a way to heal together. Behind them, the house held 5 sleeping children and the promise of a future neither had dared to hope for. "I used to think I was cursed," Hannah whispered. "Every good thing got taken away. Thomas, my home, my freedom. I thought happiness was just something that happened to other people. And now..." Hannah looked at her husband, at the ring on her finger, at the house behind them and the life they'd built inside it. "Now I know better," she said. "Happiness isn't something that just happens. It's something you fight for, something you build, something you protect with everything you have. And you've got it now. I've got it now." Hannah smiled, and for the first time in longer than she could remember, the smile reached all the way to her heart. "I've got everything." Caleb kissed her, soft, tender, full of promise. And in that moment, on that porch, under those stars, Hannah Sullivan Thornton finally understood what it meant to be home. Not a place, not a building, not 4 walls and a roof. Home was this man beside her, these children sleeping inside, this life they'd built from nothing but courage and hope and the stubborn refusal to give up. She'd walked 300 miles through hell to find it, and she was never letting go.